All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. So today we will continue our discussion on getting street smart. Before we get really started here, just remember to review this disclaimer here. Basically, just saying that everything we're going to talk about tonight is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. Of course, if you're watching the recording, you can pause it and review it as well. And so that being said, let me get this tweeted out to everybody. There, good. So good, good, good. So yeah, so today again, once again, getting street smart is the theme of this week, and again, everything we're talking about today is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So let's take a look at some charts here. Hope everybody had a great trading day today. Pretty interesting day today, right? Yesterday we were down 29 cents. Today we're down like almost 29 bucks, right? So the monthly chart basically, we had a basically upper shadow here, right, off of the upper Bollinger Band, upper shadow here, right? Even though it was kind of hammerish, we were over the hammer yesterday, and today we've pushed below. We started to get into the real body of last month. So that's why one of the reasons that we see some downside momentum, and so. But when we take out these levels, right? So that's really, really important. I'm going to show you today, kind of one of the things that we look at in just a moment, right? So in addition to our discussion for today. So weekly chart, obviously, taking the, basically breaking down yet last week's low, another key level, momentum level as it pushed down, right, on a Tuesday. So that gives us a little more move to the downside, right? You can kind of see that here. Now, what I want to show you on the daily chart, and we'll talk about all this ADX, DI plus stuff later. That's part of the ADX gapper. But real quick, what I want to show you is, right, so this trend line, this is, anybody who's seen the 3-minute trend line video and, how we draw trend lines, right? We take it from this significant low point here, which can actually connect to another point. We go to the high, right, and then we connect to the next point that doesn't intersect other points, and there we go. There's our trend line, right? So that, as long as we hold this trend, right, the trend is up, right? So until the trend breaks down, right? And so these trend lines are wonderful. They're magical, right? They show us when things are changing, right? So what we saw here last Friday, right, was the first minor pivot below this, right? And that was really, really key. We talked about in the newsletter this weekend, how important that is, right? So, and we start to see that's one of our swing methodologies, right? When we start to see that, right, we want to see a breakdown below that level, right? And so yesterday we got this. Kind of really narrow range day, and it was actually on low volume too. And so I tweeted out to the group, basically, it's kind of quiet, like a little too quiet type thing. And then we got this huge range, so SMDC4 S is one of his things. He looks at McClellan Oscillator, he talks about big range day. Well, we certainly got one, right? So we started up and then really, really pushed down. But this is where the momentum comes from, guys. So we talked about not only the weekly chart, right, the breakdown of the weekly low, right, and also getting through that monthly level right there, that 2982, which basically then 2978. So there's 4 points right there, right, and then this low right here is 2982 as well. Right, so very, very important stuff. And so you could see that push through that level. You have that double confluence here on the monthly chart and the daily chart. Today, when it pushed through that level, when it broke down yesterday's lows, that really gave it that momentum to the downside, right? And so ideally swing size, we close a little bit below it, right? But that is your momentum move, intraday, right? And some folks can get positioned in that, right? So some folks, once it pushes down below there, right, they've taken that first bit, let's say, multiple puts, right? They've taken that first momentum move down, took some profit, and then they hold on to runners, right? Just in case it gets a little bit swing, more swing to the downside. So really, really powerful stuff. So let's take a look here at the price action and kind of see how it all played out, how it all came together, right? So before we do that, again, geometric chart. So we're kind of pulling back to the support zone. Haven't quite reached the upper channel, right? So we found a little bit of resistance here at close to the all-time highs, right? And we talked about the newsletter this weekend. Elliott wave-wise, honestly, we still have a little more to go on the stochastic. So if we did fill this gap here, even this gap here, that could still qualify as a wave 4 and still work its way back up, right? So anyway, so let's take a look and see what happened, right? So really, really important stuff here. So this, what we want to see here, right, that level, it's not, I mean, I can make it precise here. So 2982.23, 2982.23. It's the exact number. Okay, and that's your breakdown level. Okay, so price loves levels, right? And so anyway, so it likes to test levels. That's what we do. This is default here. Okay. All right, so as we go here, we can see off of this default level, like kind of what's going on, right? So we Okay, so what we can see here is this is what it did, right? When it got to this level, right now, price doesn't just run through it, right? Just give it a second before it does, right? So it did drop to it really, really quickly. It had a lot of momentum here off of this big bar, right? And then it came to this level and gave you an inside 15, right? Then it tried to break to the upside, failed, and this reversal off of this bar was epic, right? So that was the move through that breakdown level, right? That prior day's high, and that's where that real move kind of came from, right? And you can kind of see a couple other things here. We had kind of a couple things drawn here with this trend line, so you have another minor pivot here, so that starts the move. But this move here off of this level is key, right? And that really moved down, pretty impressively, like almost more than 20 points. Right, so that's a huge move on SPX. Right, so those are the things that we like to look at. So here you can see here, these are our levels. Wow, I mean, honestly, basically yesterday's low is pretty much corresponded with. Oh, well, that is the level, right? Yesterday's low. So, so we gap up today, right? And what do? What does price like to do? These are the levels that we give to our subscribers, right, before every market open, so everybody has these, right? And you can see how valuable these are. This price likes to jump up and down off of these levels, right? And we just use price action to try to trade between these levels, right? And so we gap up, and we have a nice push up this morning, so we start letting things kind of define themselves. And you can do trend lines intraday too. I mean, you can kind of put a line right here, kind of go here, minor pivot, break down there for that move to get to that level. It's tricky with options because you need a little bit bigger move. But we test this level upper shadow down, right? This bar here was a very, very clear shot across the bow saying it wants to get below. There was a lot of confluence here on levels. We had a weekly pivot level, short-term volumetric level, yesterday's high, and a resistance 1 level. So that was your first indication, right, that this thing wanted to break down. And then it kind of came back up, a little bit of a bear flag, chopped around a little bit, and then what was this? Okay, this is your verification. This is your confirmation right here. Right, so this shot across the bow, confirmation, right? A little bit of chop here for a little bit, but this one here said that this one wants continuation, right? And then it got it, right? And then where did it get to? Well, you have to know the key levels, right? We have to know the key levels before kind of going into the day, right? We can see here, these are the levels right here, right? And so, again, push back down here, right? This is your key level. Obviously, this is the dominating bar right here. So as long as it's not trying to get above that, right, then we could look to see this bar as confirming, right, to the downside. Once this breaks down here, right, we can see it was all over, right, on that for SPX. A lot of these patterns, we could see a lot of these patterns today, kind of intraday, and it was really, really interesting. We kind of came down here, we got to like kind of a volume lever down here, right, and amazingly at that time, a tweet came out and boom, the market goes up. Amazing how that happens, right? I mean, you really don't need news at all. It's sometimes fun to listen to it, but I mean, just price like travel is look what it's doing, right? The price is telling you everything that's going on in the world, right? So, I mean, it lets you know. So, and it lets you know at what levels, right? So, and when it makes sense. So this right here was a big reverse right there. I think it got a lot of folks trapped in on that one, but basically couldn't confirm really above this level here, right? This was the closest it could go with an upper shadow, and then look at that Marubozu bar. Then you had upper shadow, and then this right here. So it was basically all was just saying see ya, right? I don't want above this level. So anyway, good stuff there. So that's just an intro to the market right here. So today we are going to talk about. Obviously, everything we're going to talk about is educational purposes only, not investment advice. So we've been going through, some of the street smarts ideas. We talked about 80-20s yesterday. We talked about turtle soup the other day. And today, we're going to cover ADX Gapper. Okay, so ADX is just a setup that's really, really cool and is rare. But the principle behind it is we want to find a stock that is really trending, other than using our trend line methodologies. We want something that's really trending, right? So the ADX really helps us with that, right? And then when we combine it with your DI plus and DI minus, right, it can give you, obviously tell you which direction you want to trade it in, right? That type of thing. So even though it's pretty obvious, but it also gives you a clue that the timing is okay, right? So so let's take a look. So I'll just kind of talk through it here, and I'll show you a couple examples. Okay, so the first one. All right, so the principle is use your 12-period ADX, which is basically your default in Thinkorswim. Okay, but you have to customize your DI plus and DI minus. Okay, they want a 28-period DI plus and DI minus. I use Wilder's, it's fine. Okay, on the ones that we're testing. Okay, so we plug those in. Right now, normally you could use like NetFry. I don't know if you're here. You could use your DMI, not your DMI oscillator on this one, but just your DMI. Right, and then you could customize it with that. Except the DI plus and DI minus is your 28-period. So that's the only difference on that one. Okay, all right, so obviously anybody's familiar with kind of the DI plus methods, right? Your DI plus over your DI minus is bullish, and vice versa for bearish. Okay, so DI minus over DI plus for bearish. Okay, so I like to color my DI plus green and my DI minus red just so I know, bullish versus bearish. And I usually make my ADX like this really bright dotted color. Okay, all right, and so today's, and then I don't think I wrote it down here, but your ADX is going to have to be over 30 for this to work. Okay, it has to be over 30. So today's open must gap below yesterday's low. Okay, sort of like we see this a lot, right, with the turtle soup. That was your 20-day low, right? And as long as we set a new 20-day lows within 4 days, right, and kind of pushes through that range, then you got it, right? So this is the same thing. So basically, gap below yesterday's low, and then use it to kind of buy right through it, right? Little red dog reversal type thing, right? We'll reclaim the range, okay, and set the stop at the low of the day. And then trail profits and consider a swing if it's a strong close. And that's it. That's this method, okay? So let's take a look at a couple examples real quick. So we'll look at the bullish case first. So let's take a look at SHOP. Everybody's familiar with SHOP and what a strong uptrend it has. Okay, so the idea behind this, right, the principle behind this is, and you can see now here why I have all this stuff. So your ADX is your 14, and your DI plus is your 28, and DI minus is your 28. I've got the DI plus colored as green, like I said, and the DI minus colored as red. So when green is over red, that's bullish. When red is over green, that's bearish. Okay, but the ADX always has to be over 30. Okay, so I'll just put like a little line here at 30. Okay, because that shows the strength of the trend in either direction. So I'll just call that level 30. Okay, and let me extend that to the left. Okay, all right, there we go. So there's level 30. So what we do, right, is we want to find out, when we're trending strong, and when we're trending strong, right, the ADX is going to be over 30. Okay, and we want to find a day where we gap down, right, in that strong uptrend, and then we'll look to basically do a reclaim through that range. So this is a really good tool to have, especially on a go-to list, especially if if you're over over 30 on the ADX. Look, if you see a gap down on a strong stock, right, look for a nice nice reversal move through the range. Okay, so this happened to happen on May, back in May. Right? It was in such a strong uptrend. Right, so back May here, May 13th and 14th, and I'll show it to you here, right here. Okay, so look what happened these days. So zooming in on it. Okay, so ADX was well over 30, right? 30 is way down there. Okay, so ADX is well over 30, so we're trending up, right? But it was a little bit of a pullback, right? So this is basically a buy the dip, type scenario, right? When is it good to buy the dip? Okay, and we can see here, hold on, got to get more data in here for it to be, right, accurate. So the DI plus is over the DI minus. Okay, so you can see that right here. So what happened is we gapped down this day, right? We started to move down a little bit, but look, you can even see I drew this at the time. We had a bull flag at the time, right? Okay, so it was just bull flagging, right? And it just pushed down a little undershoot of the bull flag, and then it launched. It launched. Okay, and that's the part of the idea, right? Is if you close strong on the next day, you can look to swing it. I mean, it wasn't, it was a little bit scary. It gapped down a little bit, but look at that. Nailed. Once it got through that bull flag, just see ya, right? I'm just super strong move. We can even take a look at the options on those days. Okay, but real quick, let's just take a look at what that looks like intraday, and then we'll take a look at the options, and we'll go to Netflix. Okay, so 13th and 14th. So let's go to that on. I'll show you on the 15-minute time frame. So if we go to the 13th and the 14th, way back here, 13th and 14th, 13th and 14th. Okay, right here, right in this area. 13th and 14th. Okay, so what do? Right, we gap down, and all we do is we enter when we start to reclaim the prior day's range. And this is actually a really good tool, right? I'm just gonna put it right here. Okay, so we gap down. Right, you can see the futures. I mean, you can see like pre-market, it was down and it gapped down. Right, so we opened right here. So the first move of the day was a push. What looks like a push to the upside, right? And it came back in, right? Maybe even tested lower. Gave you an inside bar right here. Okay, and then it really started to push through that range. Okay, so that entry here is the key entry, right? Sometimes right at the open can be a little bit tricky, right? And then it's really difficult where to put the stop if you do it like right instantly. But that's so ninja style, it's really tough, right? But here the pullback was perfect inside, and then that thrust back through the range. Okay, and there it used to stop us at the low day, good to go. Okay, so it's basically a 2-point stop. I'm not sure what it would be on the options, but 2 3 points right there, and you get that huge momentum move through that level, right? Then you get a little bit of a bull flag right there, 1 2 3 bars, and then it launched all the way up and closed really really strong on the day. And then you could see what happened, right? Then the next day, right, gap down a little bit and then really really launched, and then continued the next day, right? So if we just kind of just look real quick to see what those looked like on the options, just on a swing on those, that was back in May, 30 and 40. So those were the 17th expiration. So we just look at dot shop 1909 06 17 calls, and just say the 245s were like pretty much right in the money that day, right? They didn't have those. Dot shop 1906 sorry 517. Okay, so let's go to the 13th and 14th. We're right here. I mean, so you can see what happened, right? So here's the 13th right here. Gap down, and once it started to reclaim through that range, here's your 15-minute bars. That was that inside bar. Basically, here's your entry here, like around $5.50, right? So that quick momentum move got all the way up to $9. So a quick 4-point move on the options, right? And then here's your bull flag right here, and then it's closed strong on the day, so you're up $9 there. So if you have even 10 contracts right there, right, you make $4,000 there, right? And even if you took off like half. Right, so you have $2,000 profit, and then you let the rest ride, right? Like they say, it kept on closing strong and strong. It went up to $33, right? That's like an extra $15,000 move on that trade, right? And that's just an example using that. I mean, even if we have two, right? It's still $400 right off of that move, right, on one contract, right? And then you save the other contract, you make $3,000 in 2 days, right? So that's kind of the idea of it. So very very powerful stuff, right? Okay. So that is the bullish case. So let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix is another example here on the bearish case. And I think it's appropriate because it has been getting crushed, right? The trend has just been down, right? And the ADX, once this ADX gets over 30 here, right, that shows it's really trended, right? And obviously the DI minus is over the DI plus here. So that just kind of gives you that clue that, hey, I'm looking for shorts if this happens. So this happened to us. This happened on 9/6 to 9/9 over the weekend. So 9/6 to 9/9. So this happened here. Okay. So we closed here. We were ADX over 30, right? And we gapped up this, and we started to push back through that range to the downside. Okay. So we just go to the 15-minute on those. We can just kind of see what that looks like real quick. Okay, 9/6 to 9/9 here to here. Okay, so you can see what happened here. So this was the prior day's high, just the opposite. Okay, we gapped up here, tried to come up, test a couple levels and all that stuff, and then look what it did. As soon as it came back here, this is your short position, right? They say stop at the high of the day, but you get the idea here. This is just a quick move, right? 293 down to 290. Remember, shorts always, shorts are a little bit riskier, right? So because they can go fast, right? But anyway, 3-point move off of that trade just using the strategy, right? That's why when we look intraday, right? We're like, oh, I missed that move, or how can I get in there? Well, if there was a setup that day, and this, you don't have to have this whole thing. Right, even though there are strategies, right? We have our inside bar here off of the 15 orb, right? That type of thing. Kind of back down. We talk about that stuff, but here's this little extra meat, little extra meat off the bone right there to for a nice little sharp trade right there. Then it came back, retested that level, and then back down, right? So quick scalp, and then maybe even here, possibly a little bit more. So anyway. That, my friends, is the ADX gapper method. So at this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window. We'll try to get wrapped up here by 10:30, so everybody get a good night's sleep so we can have another awesome trading day tomorrow. And tomorrow is Wednesday, so good stuff. So let's check it out. How's it going, everybody? Good to see everyone. Let me get the daily charts kind of pulled up here. I am going to remove the bottom studies here. Although maybe we would see an ADX one, but we still just like our trend lines, see how they work. Okay, good. All right, well, let me start with Shirley. Dustin, what's going on? Yeah, let me start with Shirley's stocks right here. She emailed me, so let me just get through those for Shirley, because she's, I'm sure, tuning in anonymously here. Okay, so Starbucks has been doing great, Shirley. Just something to keep in mind here. It is holding this downward trend line. We love the fact, right, we want to buy the drip, right? With Starbucks, it's been just so powerful, so wrong. I mean, it makes sense. It kind of came down corrected. They actually gave bad numbers, kind of for going forward. Amazing that earnings are like already coming up again, right? So, but here we get minor pivot right here. So we'll see if we can get above that and close above that with some volume, and then maybe get a little bit of a run before earnings on that one. CAL. This is a nice one, Shirley. Nice gap, and this one is really holding its gap really well, right? So I mean, even from down here, right, you have your high here. It's definitely holding trend very, very well. Even if we went from this one, to the high, I mean, it's still good. Okay, so that looks very, very bullish. Duke, very bullish for a shoe company. Duke, these power companies love to put in these channels. Right, but here's your trend. I mean, basically the channel would kind of go the other way. There's your high right there. So, a little bit of kind of like a bump type, runish type thing. But yeah, bullish still proven otherwise. It's a kind of a safe haven for money these days in these energy stocks. FE, as is the case. Okay, FE, very similar. Good. Almost identical to Duke. Good. QID. ProShares. Let's see here. There. Okay. So just be careful with this, Shirley. Right? It's actually still trending down. It does look like a massive kind of pull flag, but it's pretty long for that. So big move today. Nice volume. It still needs to get over this trend line. So just be careful with that. And then PSQ. Wow, almost identical. So there. The Qs. Okay, same thing. Just be careful of that trend line. So good stuff. Very, very nice. Dustin, yo, Facebook. Let's take a look. Yeah, Facebook. Facebook got that. It's hurt on today, right? Got hurt. Everybody's bullish on it, right? It did shift the trend line, so it made it tricky. Shifted the trend line. We were watching it. Gave a minor pivot yesterday. Today was a nice close below that minor pivot. Nice push below it too, guys. This is very, very similar to what we were talking about with SPX days. It pushes below those levels. So that's a momentum mover right there. Okay, so we do have it filled a open gap here. Okay. And then, so we'll see if that, finds some support right there. So I did have some nice volume come in. Normally I like to trade these, a setup like this a little bit short, but again, target is not too far away. And it was a big move. Right, so it didn't kind of give us that sneaky entry. Right, so anytime like I see like a big move like that, I'm like, sort of like this, and then see how it kind of gapped up and kind of reversed. It's just like, that type of stuff. It's like a little too obvious. All right, so I kind of try to avoid those, especially even if I see like a really nice hammer, like if it's something like this, nice and green hammer, right? It's like, oh, that's so bullish, and the next day it's down, and then it went up, right? So the market just likes to do that a lot. Let's take a look. Diz. Diz. Let's take a look. So yeah, this is actually a pretty good chart right here. I can keep those levels up. That's fine. They're not too distracting. So I don't think they are. I'll remove that level there. That level there. Okay. A couple of different key gap and go levels. Some 15 orb levels we looked at. But yeah, generally we are still here because we haven't put in a fresh low yet. So for the most part, the trend is down until proven otherwise. I don't know if it's going to consolidate a little bit until it gets to this trend line and then work its way up. But right now it's just kind of blah, right? I mean, the trend is down, so essentially looking for shorting opportunities. Is the idea, right? Because you don't want to fight the trend. But I'd prefer to see what it does, when it gets close to that trend line. And then Baidu, gosh, a lot of subscribers had this swinging short overnight. One of our fine members mentioned this when we do our evening live streams, and I liked it so much that I posted the idea publicly, and I didn't take it because it was like 357, and I have a rule that if it's after 355, I don't post a trade because it's not fair to traders, who need more time to kind of set up. So I won't do that. So I'm not like the next day high-fiving myself, that type of thing. But for the subscribers that did get this yesterday, nice move down, right? What did we see? We saw this fantastic trend line, right? We saw a minor pivot right here. We saw a close on pretty decent volume. There was also the cloud here too on the Ichimoku, and our target was basically just a gap fill right there, and it did that today. So very, very nice trade. I think it was like somewhere 3 or 4x trade or something like that today. So beautiful stuff. Paul, what's going on? Enjoy the apparel. Good morning. Will M, good evening. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Jimmy, hey, NVIDIA, let's take a look. Haha. Looking good, boo boo. Let's take a look here. So this is this. So here's our upward trend line, right? We have this nice gap right here, and so this did a lot of good things here. Gosh, it's interesting how it kind of came up at the end of the day. So possible support. I don't want to sound, just kind of throwing that out there, a little bit lower shadow right there. But if we closed, I was kind of hoping that we closed below this with this volume, and then we could have seen a thrust down there. So just be careful here. May have found a little bit of support. If you're short on it, just keep it like a kind of a tight stop on it, right? So see how it runs tomorrow, because NVIDIA does like to spike in the morning. So just be careful with that. So actually, what's going on? Can I speak of the mentality of buyers and sellers when it comes to inside day patterns, and how is it different from a doji pattern? Trader mentality. Sure. Yeah. So inside day versus doji. Yep. Absolutely. So and how about an inside doji? So here's a great example. Actually, here's an inside doji right here on NVIDIA. So the idea is, right. So what's happening, right? So we're kind of going up here, and here's kind of a doji too, but we gap up on volume, and it's a green day. So a lot of times, what traders think when they see this is like, okay, we gapped up, we're green on a green day. It's a pause day, right? That's where we talk about the doji sandwich, and we can even look at that here. We gap down here, right? It's a pause day, so we're looking for a continuation forward, and that's what happened, right? So here we're kind of starting to get bullish. A little pullback. Oh no, pulling back again. Oh, green day, that's good on some volume. Pull back again. Oh no, pull back again. Oh, we're up on some volume, and that's after earnings, right? So, but either way, it's a doji, right? And so what do we look for after dojis? We look for doji sandwich continuation, right? And that's what we got after that. Okay, so what happens? What's the difference here? Oh no, here's an inside day. So what do we think? Well, we don't know. Right? We just had a huge move up, right? But that is exactly it. That is what an inside day says, is we don't know. Because price doesn't know, right? It's not giving us any continuation. It's saying, it's saying I have no idea, right? I don't know if I want to break up over the top side. I don't know if I'm just going to hang out in the middle of this price range, right? I feel comfortable in here, right? That's what it's saying. And then we wait until the breakout of those levels to try to find, some direction, right? And there you can see what happened. Now here, we broke up, and look at that, we had an upper shadow. So what price tried to do there, right, is go up. So but it had an upper shadow there, and it's coming back in. So at this point, you have to be very, very cautious, right? Because a breakdown below this level is powerful. Because what it's saying here is that now this inside day failed to go up. Now it might want to test the low end of that inside day and possibly test the lower end of that range, right? Now it gave us an inside day doji, right, on that day. So the doji here is not necessarily continuation, but it's definitely caution, right? Because we came up, right? We had an upper shadow. Now we have an upper shadow again, but a lower shadow too. So we really need to look at the price action intraday to see which way it's going, to look for a breakout one way or another, right? And so what we saw right there is that it gapped down, it tested that range, and then it really wanted lower, and it even attempted to fill this gap here too, and then we had another inside day. Oh, which way are we going? More downside, right? And then it basically came up and showed you where the trend is, right? That taught us where the trend is right there, okay? And then there it goes, right? So that's kind of the difference between mentality. I mean, doji days can be reversal days. A lot of folks look at dojis as potential springboard moves, like this kind of doji sandwich. At the top of a range, we could see a doji, right? Like up here, very, very top of the range, and down, right? So it could mean just kind of this, it could be a turning point move or a continuation point move. You just have to kind of establish that and figure that out with the trend, and it's tough. And so the mentality behind it, right, is, I'd say half traders don't even think about it, and then the other half that do, right, are looking for breakouts on those levels and retesting, kind of those ranges and kind of seeing what happens after the inside doji, right? You look for, probably look for breakouts one way or the other, right? So that's kind of the idea. Harvey, what's going on? Good to see you. Chad, what's going on? Microsoft, nice. Let's take a look. Mr. Softy. And there we go. There was that doji, right? Kind of continuation move there. Where's our clear? There we go. So here's this upward trend line that we've been following, kind of tracking for a while, right? And so here it's back down to the channel, back to the channel bottom. It loves this channel. This just jumps around it all the time, so it's back down to it at this point. So Just be careful here. Right, break down below this low, right? Could start to test, could start to test lower and start a new wave down. So definitely something to look at. Da, 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 da. Jimmy, what's going on? Anyway, can we please take a look at MYGN? Of course. And okay, so that's looking pretty interesting there, right? We got a big gap down. Here's your low. Here's your pivot, right? And so try to work its way up, right? Try to get a bullish close. This was a pretty good close, right? I like that close, and that then started to work its up. And then today's close is really, really nice. It's starting to get into that gap. Now, is it going to continue again tomorrow? I don't know. We'll see. We might give you like a doji or something like that, or a little pause day, and then then start to work its up a little bit more, right? So it's looking interesting. DEE. Holding on a lot better than CAT, right? A lot better than its counterpart. So, in fact, it's very reminiscent of Boeing right now, as Boeing, basically formed a bullish hammer on some volume to try to stay in trend. So it looks like this thing wants to kind of stay in trend right now. It needs to get back over that trend line though, and it's back at, it looks like some old kind of 15 orb earnings levels, that type of thing. So yeah, so it's looking pretty good. SQ. Okay, yeah, SQ's been getting beat up for a while. Here's the downward trend line. We put in a minor pivot today, so that's looking really interesting. So we'll look for a close above that, bullish close, and then possibly a push up to those levels. So good stuff. My pleasure. Thank you. Hope you're well. Hope everybody's doing good. TJ, what's happening? TJF. Let's take a look at Beyond. Oh, Beyond. Honestly, with Beyond, it would have been good. The ideal situation with Beyond is to have traded it this way, and just kind of looking back is easy. But here we had this kind of little upper trend line right here, minor pivot here, right? Double inside day down, right? We had this yesterday. We had this nice close on increase in volume below this minor pivot, right? And yesterday was a good day to swing short on it, but to be able to hold, right? So we had a couple momentum moves. So with multiple contracts, right, we can get rid of some of them and then let the rest run, because I'm very, very interested to see at how this moves here. It is still holding these bullish levels, right? Here it closed right above it, right? Here it's got some buying pressure, right? There's some demand in these areas. So, but if it breaks down, right, you have this potential to really, really push fast and fill this gap. So that is kind of the risk here. So at this point, I would only want to have freebie runners on it off of the gap down yesterday, but it was set up for another move down today. But the only reason it's hard to day trade on it, or hard to kind of catch this, is today's price action was just awful. I mean, it was just it was just off. It was garbage all day. Like even it couldn't even do it at the open. It was just like and then it's kind of drifted. Then it was just a horrible price action day. So, but yeah, so that's the only way to have traded that one really. So, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. It is, if you're kind of bullish on it, it did put in a lower shadow here, here, and here, and here, and then so it might kind of try to work its way up. Adam, what's going on? Good evening. Roku and Hubs. Yeah, let's take it. Yeah, Hubs has been interesting, but let's take a look at Roku because it's it's so hot right now. Big kind of kind of top right here, right? And of course it came all the way back, and it came tumbling back down. It was this huge run. Everything was going down, and this thing was still going up. It's like, oh, is this thing going to go forever? No, it never does, right? It's parabolic, right? Runs out of buyers, and the sellers start pushing, right? So big move down. Everything was projected, very clearly, right? It was a bearish engulfing week last week. Had a huge continuation down, or 2 weeks ago, he had a continuation down last week. We had a bear flag, right? Very, very clear bear flag, right? I mean, it just held really, really well to a lot of setups, right? And then and then once it did kind of has done its job, right? It filled the gap right here, so and it came up even off of the closing gap too. So it's got a little lower shadow right here. So let's see. My thought is that probably what it'll do at this point. Now it's Roku. It can squeeze, right, if the shorts are really pressing. If it got a little move, but I just can kind of imagine it just kind of doing a little consolidation here and then hopefully giving us a setup there. But you never know. This thing could give a quick pop one day and then kind of work its way back down again too. So, but we'll see how it does, right? I mean, it's that right now the trend is down. Right, until proven otherwise. So just have to kind of respect that. And then Hubs. Let's take a look. Yeah, so Hubs, you can see I was looking for this minor pivot move right here, but now the trend line is changing. So we activate this. We shift that from here to the next pivot there. And so today essentially formed a minor pivot day, and then we'll see if we can close above that over the next couple of days or something like that. But if it does, I think it could give an epic reversal on it. But who knows? It might just It's gotten below these kind of support levels right here. There's an open gap down here, right in the 152 level, and then I might find a little bit of support right here. We've got a big pitchfork level here too, kind of at some support. So we'll see. We'll see what it's got in store for everybody. Any lowers? All right, we'll shift the trend line a little bit more. Heather, good evening. Good to see you. Market Mike, what's up? Good. Yeah, everything's good. That was awesome. Hope you had a good day today. Session MDB. Let's take a look. So MDB, gosh, I was kind of doing this kind of funky little spider head and shoulders off of the pitchfork right here, but every time it makes this minor pivot, it has trouble getting over it, right? So here's the last minor pivot down, right? And so it is still forming another minor pivot there. So let's see if it puts it in a new low and we can shift the trend line. At this point, it's just kind of like kind of tough. Got a little support-ish right here, so it's tough to short too. CMG. I was looking at that tonight as a potential example, but it does not like ADX at all. Seriously, I put the ADX on it. It was like under 20. Even this whole, I was like, it had such an epic move. Certainly the ADX would be positive. And it was like 20 the whole time. Like, how is that even possible? Anyway, you guys know it loves this fib fan line. This is something we did a discussion on fib fans one night. We did on here, and it goes back. It loves this fib fan line. Every time it comes back to it, it gives another launch. So it pulled back again recently, and then gave another launch. Right, so let's take a look here. Okay, so minor pivot today. Let's see if we can close it below it tomorrow with some volume. We gotta be careful, right? There's a little closing gap right here. So it might, if it's big, here you're back at the fib fan line again. It could bounce. So you gotta always watch that fib fan line. Cat. There they go. So definitely different than Boeing and John Deere. So, here, minor pivot. Closed basically below it inside day and then down. Then it made this other trend line, the more macro trend line here, minor pivot and closed below all that today. So in my opinion, right, I mean, this is very bearish, right? If you put the cloud on there, it's kind of in the cloud, so it's not really, messed with. But, the trend is now down until proven otherwise. Here, and then Lulu. Lulu's getting close, right? So it put a minor pivot in today. So let's see if we can get back over this minor trend line, give us a bullish close over this minor pivot here, and then maybe give it a little shot up at the top. Paul, overstock, still shortable? Let's take a look. Well, if downtrending is shortable, then yes. Because it is still downtrending. So you just have to look for setups there. There's kind of your level right there. So little minor pivot today. So be careful with that. If we close above this tomorrow, it could be sneaky. If we close above this tomorrow, bullish candle, right, with some volume, right, this thing could give us a reversal. But more than likely, we'll put in a new low and then kind of shift the trend line down. So something to look at. So very, very tricky area here. Definitely, this extended move right here was significant. Tough to catch on the reversal because the ranges were so big. Some folks caught this because they just had to believe in it. It is interesting, though, that it hit this, looks like Fibonacci level right here. It kind of came back down. But anyway, something to look at. Good stuff. Dimitri, hello. Dustin. Let's take a look. MPC. Yeah. I mean, oil type stock, right? So, I mean, it's still... The trend is trying, short term here, long term here. So yeah, I'll just keep the trend right there. So for your calls, so yeah, so it is holding trend. So far, so good. Just keep an eye on that trend line. That is key. And then XLE, kind of working its way, kind of reversal type stuff right here. Right, so here's your minor pivot. Here's your kind of doji sandwich down, and then here you can see this to this to this. So this is trending down now, until proven otherwise. So see if we can kind of break out of that at this point. So good. Wendy, good morning. Walmart. Let's take a look. So Walmart. Wow, new highs again, right? So I've already reached on this trend line today, but amazing stuff. Back up to 120. Starbucks one day we'll be able to get back up there. I feel it. But anyway, yeah, still good. Topping tail right here, but trend is up until proven otherwise. So watch that trend line there. Boeing again, kind of discussed it earlier, but didn't quite show it. But bullish close again. But you guys know how I feel about these hammers, right? So sometimes they're tricky, right? But a lot of folks were talking about buying it into the close, and I don't know, for some reason it's almost like too good, right? But it did get above the trend line, so the trend is up, right? And it did do it on volume, so it's something to look at, But I don't know. Hard to tell if they're going to mask some news or something to try to get some retail in there before they put out some more bad news or something like that. Peter HK, Pierre, what's going on? Master John, I hope everyone had a good day trading. I hope you did too. I know you did, so that's good. But yeah, it was a fun day. It's an interesting day for sure. Dimitri, yep. Good. Tesla and beyond. Nailed it previously. Yeah. So, we try. Pierre, if you're still here, man, check that out. But yeah, it was forming a bull flag. Yesterday was long. I liked it at the open, so it was nice right here. And then clearly, this was, I would say the bull flag has been invalidated. So it is back down here, right? We have a couple old levels here, so let me just kind of get rid of those. Those are all moot at this point. So it kind of came down a little kind of like an area right here. So at this point now the trend is obviously shifting. So we'll see how that holds. But yeah, big range today, big money maker on this one. Possible entries. If we look at the 15, some of the stuff we look at, gave us an entry. I think off the 5 actually today. So off the opening bar on the 5, and then just kind of see ya. So big money maker today. So that's good. And where it's going is it's kind of stuck down there. So it's shifting trend. I'd like to see what it does for one more day. And then, but we'll keep an eye. I might get some continuation move, obviously. So, because we did have a minor pivot here, right? So technically, this is a bearish bar. So we'll see what they do with it. And then beyond, got hammered today though. And then beyond, we just talked about it, right? So yeah, so we had that move, and again, so just be real careful with that bottom shadow. Right? We're finding a little bit of buying, support here. Right, here's some bottom shadows here too. So it's kind of like a support zone. So like I said, yesterday was the short idea. We looked at it longs. A couple people took that through these bars here. So it's a little something, and then that move there. So we'll see. See what it does there. CSS, SCC, ZM would be great. Yeah, absolutely. A few folks shorted this today. Got a nice move on it. It was tricky, but this is exactly what we were talking about. Actually, this is an example of that inside bar, right? It's like a little crouching tiger right here. So we had the upward trend right here. Here's your minor pivot. Then we went inside, right? So indecision, and once it broke down through that level today, it took that out and the minor pivot here, right? That's how we kind of started the whole thing talking today about SPX, right? And then that gave that down move here. So this was a nice short for some folks today. So really good stuff. Congrats for anybody forgetting that. It's up on volume 2, so it's a potential swing short too to at least test those lows, the 76 kind of 76.50 area. So very good stuff. Harvey BA, yeah. We just took a glance at it, but we can always look at it again here. Again, the trend is up. It did get over the trend line, so let's see how. Now it didn't pull a Tesla. Tesla would have been like, but it did get over this. Let's see how it looks after hours. See how it's doing here. Just tricky. It kind of drifting down a little bit. It is so bullish at the end of the day. It's like really, when the market's going down, it's like they're setting up for something. But anyway, it's holding trend, so can't dispute that. So there we go. Arturo, what's going on? How should one start about learning how to trade? Tune in here every market night and ask questions, right? So why do trend lines appear to work? You don't see how trend line works, so what you need to do, what I would suggest doing, is look at the 3-minute video. I'm going to post it here at the bottom, so give me 1 second. youtube.com, and I've got a link to it here, but let me just grab it off of this real quick. Playlist. Trendline series less than 3 minutes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel here. We do and explore the different videos and just start to kind of I talk about all sorts of different strategies all the time, but just start to kind of just learn some things and start to do it that way. But start really slow, paper trade, learn how to trade, learn all the basics, right? All that stuff. And here's the link to that. So check that out, and that watch that a couple times. It's only 3 minutes, but it really gives a clue as to how these trend lines work and what we're looking at. Okay, and then it'll start to kind of sink in. It's very powerful stuff. Very powerful. It could change your life. So learning anything can change your life, but this is really good stuff. Seneca, what's going on? Seneca Flowers, love it. AbbVie, absolutely. ABVV. Yeah, it does look interesting. So, so Arturo, like you can see this big trend line right here, right? We look for a minor pivot here. We look for a bullish close here, preferably on some volume. And then, as you can see how it moved up after that. You can see how we can catch those type of moves. So, again, volume not quite there on it, so I might have passed on it, but still that move up the next day was very strong. Then you had that pullback and a move there. So all sorts of different techniques. And then here, right, we go here to the high, move that here. And so just be careful here. Seneca Flowers is that we have a little minor pivot right here. So a possible push down there, it could, kind of test like these closing gap levels. So, but it is looking interesting. And the trend is up till proven otherwise. It's above it. Just watch it. It put in a minor pivot today. So just be careful. Okay. So why do trend lines appear to work? I don't see how a trend line works. I can see why horizontal support and resistance levels works, but not trend lines. That's because you're new, right? So everybody, who's new likes to see like this resistance, right? But the more you trade it, the more you realize these breakouts, right? There's folks that are waiting on these breakout levels to push you out of it, right? And then they work, right? So just you got to be careful with it, right? It's a classic, right? But we do trade levels, right? So then levels are important intraday, but you have to understand the price action around that. So I've got all sorts of, if you go through my playlist on the YouTube, I've got a whole series on price action, right? And it's really important how price behaves around levels, right? You see, this is a level right here. We had a bottom shadow right here, got a doji, right? Then we pushed through it, confirmed down, and it came to the next level. Came back up, retested it, and then it broke down out of the level, right? So these are, it's just prices, it's just how it handles levels. Very powerful stuff. Mokshitananda, what's going on? Okta, let's take a look. Oh, I'm sorry, MicroTrader. I didn't mean to skip over you. Any hope on WBA? Sorry, I was answering the question. I was kind of jumping around. Okay, good. WBA. Any hope for it? Like hope for it short? Yeah, I mean, there's always hope, right? I mean, if they could, do something good with their business, right? They're talking about doing like deliveries and all that stuff, but they got to deliver, right? That's kind of the key thing, right? So it had this upward trend line right here from here. This is kind of more of a macro one. We saw our first minor pivot here, and then we closed it below it today. So this is actually very bearish right here. So if we continue to break down, this could be a swing maybe to fill this gap, things like that. And there's another gap down here too. So lots of stuff to be careful about there. But if it could work its way back up and get above this trend line and then continue to push, then then we'll see. Then there might be some hope with it. So sorry, I didn't mean to skip over it. Just kind of blended in with the conversation there. So, but gotcha, saw ya. Okay, Mokshitananda, Okta. Let's take a look. Yeah, so it's getting there. It's getting interesting. Here's your downward trend line. Here's your minor pivot. Need a bullish close over that. Over 107.80, a bullish close of some volume over that, and then we could see a nice move on it potentially. And then Docu had its first bearish day. I couldn't believe it. Big push up, right? Inside day, Akshay, right? There's your inside doji right there, and then look what happened. Decision made, right? Indecision, decision made as it pushed through those levels, right? So big deal right there. It does increase volume. This is bearish, right? So again, it's a big bar, so I usually don't like to trade off of these huge bars, but I'd rather be in it from here from the doji, because sometimes we could do that off a crouching tiger right there. A little risky, but possible. And then it's got it could test these kind of gap high levels and all that stuff. So this is a kind of a shot across the bow type thing. So very interesting stuff. MicroTrader. Oh yeah, Nike after hours jumped to 92. Nice. Let's take a look. It's definitely going to be 15 orb list tomorrow. Let's see, where does that put us? Yeah, last high here, right? 90. Yeah, so putting in all-time highs. It looks like, from what I could, at least in recent time highs, from what I could tell. Good. Yeah, it was kind of bull flagging right here, right before earnings, and then gave a nice spike up. That actually could help the market a little bit, right? It's kind of a big name, Dow type stock, right? So it's Dow stock. Um, so yeah, that could be really bullish. So we could look for a gap and go on Nike tomorrow. Very, very possible. Sean M, what's going on, team? Let's take a look. Ooh, bearish there. Let's take a look. We got below the pitchfork too. So we had a downward trend here, right? Here's your minor pivot, closed above it, gave a little push up, but also simultaneously that was an uptrend, which is starting to break down here. So today is actually kind of the first move. Big range bar, big volume. Look for tomorrow's, maybe in like a couple days we could look for a potential move on it. But this one does get tricky. So just be careful. And it's at a kind of a pitchfork level too. So so it could be kind of interesting. Doc admin, can we check TTD? Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, I see 10 points. It's like, oh, well, the trend was down, so it's not like it's a surprise, right? So here's your downtrend line. It tried to get over kind of these minor pivots, couldn't do it at all. Upper shadow, upper shadow, upper shadow, upper shadow. Downtrending right here. Look for intraday setups for a short. Here nothing up to 60, 215. Yeah, inside 15 right there, down. I mean, just little things like that when the trend is so strong and it's a big moving stock like that, are possible. Good. Arturo, cool. Harvey, my pleasure. MicroTrader, long. Yes. Yeah, I mean, Nike could be long if it gets over, over those levels. And then, yeah, I know what you were saying about WB. I was just playing. So, yeah, it could do it, right? It could do it. Just got to get back above that trend line. So Seneca Flowers, I was watching it, but the bid ask was pretty rough. Yeah, if it's nasty like that, don't even mess with it. Move on to something else. So Mokshananda, my pleasure. Learning off of the bid. That's great, man. Really, that's why we do it. So folks can learn, and that's my whole reason for doing all this is I've been through so much trading. I've spent a lot learning, and I just hope I can help folks, maybe overcome some of the obstacles I had, some of the expenses along the way, and so you can kind of start that road to learn, and also to show like how I do these every night, right? Because I'm learning something every day, and so if I pick something up, I want to share it with folks, and it's always a learning experience, right? So the more we learn, the more we share, right, the better everybody gets, right? So that's the idea. That's why we do it. So good stuff. But thank you everybody for tuning in. If you're new here, definitely subscribe on YouTube. Obviously check out our playlist and all videos. But we do this every market night too. So bring your chart requests, to look at stuff. So Arturo, if you check back in, you can start practicing some trend lines on your own, and then you could ask like 3 or 4 stocks tomorrow night after you've drawn your trend lines. You can see how I draw it and see what I'm seeing, and you go, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, that type of stuff. He's like, oh, this looks good, and then you'll start to see him and you'll be like, oh, this is really good, right? That type of thing. So so that could be good. So good. And anybody else too, of course, everybody's welcome to do the same thing. So everybody enjoy the rest of your evening. Another fun training day tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.